My name's Ellie, welcome to my channel. We're doing more makeup. We actually have some sunlight today. I'm very proud of the world for stopping the rain for a second. I want to do more Arcana palette because it's new and I want to play with it and it's pretty. And I want to do Familiar and Mystic and Shroud. We'll see what else ends up on it because who knows. I for some reason really thought that this had a gray or like a silvery gray, and it doesn't. I just confused myself by thinking that there was one. I was like, oh yeah, gray and blue, which I know is boring for you guys. I know you've seen me do it a lot, and it is very boring for you. But it's just, it sounds nice today. So this is Shroud. It's so pretty so far. I don't know why I'm surprised. I had heard this about Shroud's formula, that they were extremely true to color. I was expecting this to be so much more gray. Like, it is a gray toned blue, but normally you get a shade like this and it just kind of blends out into more gray, less blue, which is the problem with a lot of more neutral blue shadows, is they end up just being secret grays, but that still very much has the blue tones in it. Yeah, this is starting to make me wonder if Shroud's gonna get all my money. End up on the same list as Cliona Cosmetics, where I just keep buying everything because I like it. I'm gonna take a tiny bit on a bigger brush and start blending out. Yeah, in order to get that blue edge for other shadows, I would have needed to get a lighter blue to blend out the edge. In my opinion, in person it looks a lot more like I blended it out with a softer blue shade instead of just spreading the normal shade. So pretty. Who let me have this? Is my blending even? Not really. Do we care because it's so pretty? Nope. Okay, we're gonna stop with that before I make a bigger mess of my face. And I'm gonna go ahead and put down Mystic, the aggressive blue. Like it's blue. It is very blue. had plans to talk about what to do or like what to expect when you start ordering from indie brands, and did not make notes like I thought I was going to. And now I'm too distracted by how pretty these shades are to talk much. So if you've only ordered from big brands and from like big stores, similar to like Ulta and Sephora, or actually I don't know any other very large multi-brand, like you don't really order makeup from Target, at least I don't think of it as something to really go do that. That's a place you would go in person to want to play with something. Ooh. I'm going to take some of Alchemy, which is the green, and I'm going to put that on the lower lash line. You can't stop me. I'm all alone. Oh, you can't see it. It's cool looking. So, you've only ever ordered from like Sephora and Ulta and very large corporate owned established brands like Tarte, Urban Decay, Anastasia. You're gonna have some differences when you order from an indie brand for the first time, directly from an indie brand, not even just like, you know, getting ColourPop at Ulta. The cost is generally going to be different. Indie brands cannot buy all of their ingredients and components at the same volume as higher, more corporate companies. So, you know, when you order stuff in bulk, it tends to be cheaper, no matter what it is. Like restaurants do not get the same price for flour as the regular consumer in a grocery store. It's different when you're ordering it in a higher volume, and more directly from the manufacturer. So, since some manufacturers only sell very high quantities of things, you can't place an order for 100 of things. You have to place an order for 1,000 plus in increments of 1,000. You also get a bigger discount the more of things you order when you're having things custom made. So if you want a custom palette, it's going to cost more for the components to make that palette to be put together if you're ordering, you know, again, a couple hundred of them as opposed to thousands. Which these are all made up numbers, because again, I don't know what the actual volumes are, because I don't run an indie brand or a big fancy brand. Either one. That was familiar on the lid. I'm going to, since this doesn't really have an inner corner highlight for me, like I could potentially try and use familiar, but I already have it all over the lid. I'm going to go in with Star from Anastasia Beverly Hills and pop that on my inner corner. So it will look like a lot of indie brands are more expensive than the same thing from like a drugstore brand, or even from some mid to high-end brands like Urban Decay. I keep saying Urban Decay because I have a palette right there. Like, Lorac is also, but I'm not looking at that apparently. So, it's going to look like it costs more for potentially not the same quality. Sometimes you get these really, really amazing qualities, like Shroud, who has been working on their formula for quite a while. That is not always going to be the case. Not to, like, rag on indie brands, but it is harder to have a really, really great formula from indie brands because of some of the things that are put into higher quality, higher end, more corporate shadows just aren't available in reasonable quantities for smaller brands. You're going to get a lot more of a stripped down bare bones like color, pigment, something to thin it out a little bit because you do not want pure pigment in most of your shadows, and a binder, and maybe a preservative. Whereas, like, critiquing and, like, tweaking stuff here and there to get the exact perfect formula, like the Natasha Denona cream to powder formula, is very rare and is even less likely to find something of that quality that is moist but doesn't dry out when left in a palette, that does blend like a cream and sets like a powder. Like, there's a whole lot there that's not as commonly found in indie brands. The reason I rave so much about Cliana is because they're very consistent. They figured out exactly the ratios of things that go into making it kind of a perfect shadow, and that does change. Like, the consistency is going to change depending on all sorts of different things, like maybe you have to put in, maybe blue shadows require more of a different pigment than you normally see in similar depth shadows. Maybe pinks are really hard because you have to use even less. Maybe all sorts of things that I'm making up as potential options that I don't know what they are. I don't know what the restrictions are. But being able to keep that balance the same across multiple different shades is awesome. Same way, you see a lot of, like, loose pigments in indie brands because it's easier. You don't have to put a binder, you don't have to put, the same type of preservatives and everything. You can just dump the color you like into a jar, and then the person buying it is figuring out how to attach it to their lid. I forgot I had coffee. I need it, but I'm not awake until I have it. So, the cost is going to look like it's very expensive. But it's the same with if you were having something custom made. If you wanted, a small craft person to knit you a whole sweater, it's going to cost more for that person to put in the hours to hand make it versus a big machine making 80 of them and only caring that you sell at least, 50% of the stock to get a profit. Bronzer, because we're almost done with it. So, the cost is several things. Often it's, like, not all these brands are the full-time gig for the people making the products. Most of them are handmade by the owner and maybe a few staff. They're very slow to make, so you can only make so many of them, and then the time you sunk into making that has to be supporting you. There's no shortcuts, there's no, I can go home and the factory's still making it while I'm at home. No, it is exactly reminiscent of how many hours of labor that person has to put into the product and cover the cost of the component and the ingredients and, the fact that they took fewer hours at their other job potentially to make the item with that. Maybe they have other staff that it has to help support. Like, those indie products are generally conveying into more in-pocket money for the person, especially because a big corporation does not care about paying their factory workers as much as somebody who's working with 2 other coworkers and wants to pay themselves a good wage, not just a passable wage, but a good wage. It's harder to offer really bad wages to somebody who is your only other coworker. It's really hard to say, I only think you're worth, minimum wage, when you may pay yourself more than them, and they're right there. They're with you there all day, every workday. And if you only have a couple of people working there, it's likely that you're not all going to want to work the weekends. It's likely that holidays you're going to want to be off with your friends. You can't really say, oh, well, the company has to be going. I'm going to go home, but you're going to stay here and work. At least, I'm assuming reasonable people. So, there is less time. It's not a perpetually running corporation where at least somebody's working at all times. You may have the same person who presses your shadows who packs your products, which means in order to make shadows to go up on the website or wherever you're selling them, you can't be packing orders. So you have to split it up, and you don't get as many hours towards each thing as you might want. This bronzer just won't die. So, it is expensive to make products at a smaller scale. You also don't have as many there. The shipping is going to be more expensive. Same way, well, not even then. Sometimes it's more expensive to order from a company's website than it is to order from Ulta and Sephora, because they have multiple warehouses generally in most of the places that they're shipping to. Whereas, I think, Shroud Russia? No. There's a different thing that I'm watching that is coming from Russia, and depending on the post in the place it's coming from, it may take a long time to clear customs. It might be coming from wherever. The owner of Dawn Eye Cosmetics, I think she's in Missouri, so when I order from her, it's really quick, because I'm also in Missouri. As long as she gets it packed into the box pretty quickly, it doesn't have to go very far. But when I order from someplace that's coming overseas, someplace that's crossing international borders, on top of the time it takes them to get to my order along their list, it has to go further. And indie brands, again, have a smaller profit margin. They can't absorb free shipping costs nearly as often. So you're going to have to pay what is probably the regular shipping price to have something brought to you. And it's going to take a while. A lot of indie brands function closer to, if not outright pre-order, similar to pre-order. Like, yeah, they have enough items, but it's going to take, depending on how many orders they get, weeks just to pack your item. So, don't order something from an indie brand that you want next week unless you have talked to them and guaranteed that they have the time and the capacity to either get it to you that quickly and or to push it to the front of the line and are willing to push it to the front of the line, which, no, I don't. I just kind of assume I will get my stuff when I get my stuff. Unless it's been like a month and it wasn't disclosed, a lot of indie brands will have things saying, hey, this is our ship time. Hey, this is our turnaround time. This is how long processing takes. And all of that. But you have to read it. If you're just skipping through really excited that you're going to get a new product and you're not paying attention to what is on the different screens saying, this is how long it takes us to make, pack, process, and get it out the door, you need to pay attention. If it's not something that is there and it's taking, longer than you were expecting, not, like, think Etsy. You know how sometimes Etsy just, you order something from Etsy and your seller just takes your money and doesn't do anything for like 3 weeks? I've had that happen a lot, and I'm just kind of like, did I miss something in the description, or... So, if you're tracking it and it hasn't moved in a while, and or it's been 2 months and there was no disclaimer that it was going to be 2 months, potentially reach out and check in. Sometimes packages do get lost. Sometimes they have access to tracking that you wouldn't. I had that with my Kaleidos orders, and that I got a notification that it shipped. I don't think I had tracking, and it ended up being like a month after, and I was like, okay, I got a notification that it had shipped a while ago. I don't have tracking, but it's not here yet, and I'm starting to get nervous. Do you have access to see if it's lost, stuck somewhere? And they're very nice. They looked it up and said, yeah, it did ship. It, for some reason, has spent, 2.5 weeks sitting in Chicago. It does say that it's moving now and is going to be to you at this point. Blah, blah, blah. But it's generally going to take longer to get to you. It's going to cost more money. And there's going to be wider variations in formula. Not everybody likes every formula, and that's going to be the same thing with indie brands. You're not going to like every formula. I've been really lucky in that a lot of the brands I've tried have been brands that I saw a bunch of reviews on. You're not going to see as many reviews on indie brands unless you dig for them. Or if they go viral and are blowing up for something. Fewer reviews, wider disparity in formula. Places like Ulta and Anastasia and all those, they're creating formulas for specific markets. So the eyeshadow formulated for the American market versus the eyeshadow formula preferred for Asian markets are different. A Tude House is not going to perform the same way that Natasha Denona is. Price difference as well as goal. The goal for Natasha Denona is pigment and blendability, whereas a Tude House is often closer to wanting a sheer wash. If you're just kind of placing it down, you don't want it to blend that much. You want it to be nice and soft and delicate, which might not be what you want from a shadow. You want the ability to apply it sheerly with a small amount of pigment and a brush and blending it, but you don't want it to just always be sheer, generally, in our market. But you take that into account with where your indie brand is coming from. If I was ordering an indie brand that was more set in Asian markets, I would tend to assume that the pigment load is going to be lower. It's going to be a sheer thing. And if that's not what I want in that color story, I should probably not buy it. Or I should be aware as I'm buying it that it will likely be less pigmented than what I want. It'll be a different formula. I've had really good luck with a lot of the formulas being really good, but I've also had stuff like Nabla where some of the formula just doesn't work for me. So, see if you can find reviews, see if you can follow people who use it on post looks using them on indie brand Instagram stuff. With Instagram and YouTube, you're getting better access to reviews, but there still aren't going to be as many as bigger brands. So, I don't even know what that was. Why did you do that, camera? It's not technically horrible, but why? There's gotta be some type of, specific mix of movements that makes it do that and zoom in randomly at the end. that I don't know how to do, but apparently I'm doing it sometimes. Did it get closer? Freaking me out. Freaking me out. So, be aware of why things cost more. Be aware of how far things have to come to you. And the restrictions that the smaller brands are working with. And prepare for more varied formulas. So that's a bunch of like, hey, these are the, I guess, not even really dangerous, just things to be aware of when ordering from indie brands. But you turn that around, you're going to get some really fun stuff from indie brands. If there's a nerdy thing that you wish you had makeup themed around, I bet you there's an indie brand making it. If you wish there were more bright colors, oh, there's definitely an indie brand making it. If you wish, you're into multichromes, duochromes, there's one specific thing that just, gets you. Glitter. An indie brand out there is making the perfect product for you. Because there's somebody who said, you know what? There's not enough glitter in this. You know what? I don't want 2 multichromes, I want 80. You know what? I like the duochromes that are coming out, but I'm tired of them having a brown base or, being blue-purple. I want them to be neon green. There's somebody out there that decided they were so obsessed with something, they were going to make their own and then make it and market it. And that's what you're getting out of indie brands, is generally a really intensely cared about product. It just is very convenient when you care about the same components of the product as they do. So Cliona cares about pigment load and the aggressive opacity of their shimmers. Luckily, those are things I want. So them making that and obsessing and making the perfect thing for their preferences happens to line up great with my preferences. The witchcraft that went into making, that whoever run Shroud went into making colors that blend out and stay true to tone, that's awesome. And I don't know what witchcraft it is, but I'm really glad that they cared about it and made something like that. I'm gonna put, we'll do blue ice. We'll do some blue ice on my cheekbones. So if you want more niche applications, there's a brand I haven't committed to ordering from yet, who does almost entirely anime and gamer themes in the makeup. I think it's Kraken Cosmetics. It's very cutesy, it's very sweet, while also being gamer stuff. There was one that was, I think she did, or they did, I don't tend to assume a lot of indie brands are women, because a lot of them are, at least the ones I've come across, but I didn't check on Kraken, so I don't know. But it's stuff like that. And the Arcana palette is more, witchcrafty and darker, and that's a great thing that I want and I have not seen very often in bigger brand makeup. So I'm very excited for these things. I really like how the eyeshadow turned out. And if you like the product and you post your pictures, you post your reviews, or you just, comment on their social media about your great love of their product, you're probably going to have a fun conversation with them. I get more reactions and interaction from indie brands on the makeup I use than big companies. I know it's a very parasocial relationship thing that I love the ladies at Cliona so much, but some of it is because they're lovely. They comment, they talk, they care, they send updates about, shipping restrictions. Even before the pandemic, they were sending out updates like, hey, this is what's going on, we hit this and that snag. They keep you updated. They find your looks. They talk to you about how much they love what you're doing with the products. And they're just adorable. And that's the kind of stuff you find with indie brands. They're just so nice. It's like, if it's the right indie brand. Like, there are some indie brands that do some nasty, shady business stuff. I want to say Chaos Cosmetics is one of the ones that had issues like that, but I don't remember. I know it was a multi-chrome brand, and there was drama, and I don't remember. But I've had really good luck for what I've used with indie brands, and the indie brands I have interacted with. They've been lovely. So I tend to be on the side of, you're probably going to have a good time with indie brands. It's going to cost you a little more, but in my opinion, that's kind of worth it. I feel like because of that, parasocial relationship thing where you start feeling like you know the brand, you know the ladies or people making the products, you get excited about what they're bringing out. It feels like you're ordering from a friend. Like, you find out that your friend does art, and you find a place to order their art, and then you get to be excited about the art coming to you, and yeah, you're probably paying more than getting random wall hangings at Target, but you have a bigger investment emotionally in the product. You care about it because is your friend doing the thing. So, I have a friend of a friend who does pottery, and I stalk her pottery site, and she's about to put some stuff up, and I'm gonna order it, and it's more money than getting a mug at most places, but it's gonna be cooler, and I'm going to be happy that I got a mug, and I got to give my friend some money and support their cool, creative things. That's the same feeling I feel about indie brands. I'm excited about these people being so excited about makeup that they make cool stuff, and I would rather give a little bit more to most indie brands than other stuff. So, do you think you're ready to do indie brands? You should try them out because they're really cool. And, at least personally, I'm feeling better if I do order indie brand makeup right now. I feel better about it than I do about ordering big company stuff. Like, I get the big company is still also employing and supporting people, but indie brands, small businesses are going to be hit very hard by all this pandemic stuff. They already are being hit very hard by it, and the money I can allocate out to helping them. So, like, I'm not really trying to eat out right now, but I'm probably going to see the best way to get some gift cards for the restaurants I really love that are taking a big financial hit. A lot of indie brands are not getting as many orders right now, and with them being self-employed, they don't have the same access to unemployment, and they might not be able to get the same grants and loans. That's not working at Oh. Okay, I'm gonna stop touching that set of lashes because it's just not liking me. There were stories going up about how some pretty decently sized companies were taking the lion's share of the loans set aside to, or grants to help small businesses make it through the pandemic. And a lot of it was geared towards shaming the big companies, which, yeah, that is a thing that they should not be doing, and we should be shaming them, but also that's smaller companies that don't get that money because the grant was taken by somebody else trying to go through a loophole and be greedy. And the indie brands do not have the same ability to just drop a third of their staff and still function within certain boundaries. Normally, the staff at an indie brand form very specific tasks. So, you know, one person might be the formulator, one person might be the presser, one person might be the packer. If you try to get rid of one of those positions to do, you know, save some money, you're down the position. Somebody else who's not as good at it is going to have to fill in, or that thing's not going to get done. If the only person who knows all the formulas for your eyeshadows is who you let go, you can't make your eyeshadows anymore. I don't think I actually got anywhere with that rant. I still need lip gloss. I think we'll go with Griffin. I feel like that's an appropriate color for this look. My lips are so uneven. In that I put my lipstick on unevenly, not that my lips are super off kilter. So, the reason I say these things and to be prepared about certain stuff about indie brands is not that you shouldn't order from them. It's that you should know this before you order so that you are in the right place. So that you're not getting frustrated because you were expecting it to have a fast turnaround or because whatever. These are just things. Be aware of them. Be conscious of them when you're making your orders. And you'll have a good time, probably. I'm having a really good time with Shroud Cosmetics. This is very dangerous. I feel like I'm only allowed to be obsessed with so many indie brands because they do. They also get to put stuff out a little faster because they can say, I have an idea, mix the stuff, put in an order, and turn it out really quickly. So, like, if Give Me Glow has an idea, they can just make the thing and turn it out a lot faster than bigger brands can. If Shroud has an idea and makes a palette or some signals or whatever, they can get it out to market very fast. And then I have the want to own. And then I'm also like, well, but I have to give my money to indie brands. I don't have to, but I want to. And my threshold for, oh yeah, I'm going to order that from an indie brand is generally a lot lower, especially if I've tried it and I know I like the formula, which is how so much Clean Out Cosmetics ended up in my possession. Because they're awesome. And I love them. And anytime they do stuff, I'm like, yeah, I'm down for that. Oh, you want to do a whole collection of duochromes? Mm-hmm. Oh, you want to make an aggressive amount of multi-chromes in a bunch of different formulas? I want that. Oh, you want to make an Archeo and a Paleo palette with fantastic appropriate names and gorgeous colors? Yeah, I'm interested. Mm-hmm. I'll take some of that. You want to make a dark, mystic, witchy type palette with gorgeous dark shades? Yeah, I'm interested. I want that. And now I know I like this. This is very dangerous. I gotta go. We are visiting my sister today, in that we're gonna go stand outside their fence and talk to them from 6 feet away, because we haven't seen them in, other than video chat, for a month and a half now, 2 months. We miss them. So we're gonna go stand outside their fence and talk to them from 6 feet away. I'll see you guys later. Thank you for watching. Let me know which indie brands you've had awesome experiences with, which ones you haven't. I always want to know which ones, because I've had so many good experiences that I'm always like, what's gonna happen when I have a bad one? Which one is going to be the one that just sabotages my streak or fucks me up? I need to help. I need somebody to warn me of any dangerous ones. Because I think Chaos Cosmetics is already gone. I think it was Chaos. I will look it up, and then I will forget to tell you in the next one. I will see you later. Bye.